The morning show starts right now with a breaking news alert.
Tragedy at the Jacksonville landing.
Excuse me, not an easy out.
Two gamers shot and killed by a fellow gamer.
This morning, the gaming community is coming together to remember Taylor Robertson and Eli Clayton.
12 people injured in that shooting rampage. Governor Scott and Mayor Curry visited some of them in their hospital beds.
Others escaped the gunfire this morning. They're describing the chaos.
I went around seeing a guy that was laid on his stomach, turned him over, fell for his pulse. There was no pulse. Took off my shirt, pulled up his shirt, applied pressure to the wound. I felt it again, he had a pulse.
I heard the fire, the gunshots, and we walked right over there and went on live so people could see like really what's going on in Jacksonville. Like, it's crazy, like life not promised, like no more, like tomorrow not promised to nobody. Like.
Working to learn more about the gunman, 24-year-old David Katz. Commentators describe him as a man of business.
You are not going to see much emotion from our guy, Brett.
Investigators searching the Baltimore home where he lived and his car that was parked near the landing. We've uncovered court documents that show Katz had significant medical problems and health care needs.
News4Jax is live at the landing right now. Police, the FBI, ATF working to find out the motive. Why a man opened fire during a Madden video game tournament yesterday. 2 people are dead. The gunman then took his own life. 12 others were hurt.
24-year-old David Katz was a competitive gamer from the Baltimore area. Police are trying to figure out where he stayed Saturday night. It may have been at a local hotel. If you know anything, please call police. Good morning, everyone. We are learning new information about the 2 men killed by the gunman.
They are Taylor Robertson and Eli Clayton, well known in the competitive gaming community. News4Jax has crews around the area this morning, but we begin with News4Jax reporter Ashley Harding live outside Fire Station 1 in downtown Jacksonville. Ashley, crews from that station were among the first to respond to the mass shooting.
Yes, Bruce and Jen, good morning. We are here with Captain Jeremy Cook with JFRD. We understand there was a training going on pretty much right across the street. If you would walk us through how your brave men responded to this.
Yes, ma'am. Engine and Ladder 1 were doing some training in the parking garage right across the street from the Jacksonville landing, and we started hearing some screaming. And so we looked over, and there were people swarming up the road. And one guy was lifting up his shirt, saying that he was shot, and you could tell that he was shot in the chest. People started streaming out the front doors of the landing, and that's when we knew that things were getting real. So we started tending to that patient, called it in to Fire Communications that we needed assistance in JSO. Luckily, a JSO officer was driving by at the time, so we flagged him, and another one of the walking wounded came out. And so we started tending to him, and the JSO officer and a number of us, well, we went inside. We heard that there were at least 8 people shot inside. Our training tells us that we need to stand by until the scene is secure, but from the get-go, we were right in the middle of the scene as it occurred. So there was no staging. So we weren't going to be staging at that point. So the JSO officer and a number of us went inside to start tending to the wounded, where we found the scene, a number of trauma alerts, and the deceased.
And you all had undergone some training rather recently. I was talking to the chief about that. You learn all these things. What goes through your mind as you're working to put all those things together? I mean, it's just unreal.
The training kicks in these situations, and we are trained to stage, wait for JSO, and that just wasn't happening in this situation. We were just thrust into it, and I have a great group of guys, and so the guys act, and the guys do what needs to be done when the time comes.
You bring us into that moment when you're deciding to go into the mall. You know there's likely possibly an active shooter inside that mall, and you're still going in. Are you thinking about how we're going to prepare for what you might encounter?
It does go through your head. It was sketchy for a little while. I was more concerned for my guys than anything else, that I was allowing my guys to go into a situation that was very unsecured. And so I was more worried for my guys than anything else. But we had to get in there, and we had to do what we could to help.
Now, do you all have any protective gear? I know the chief was talking about. Do you guys have anything like that, given the state of what we see today?
The chiefs and a number of the units do carry protective vests and helmets in their apparatus. With us doing training, our apparatus were a block north of the scene, and so one man went to go get the engine, and the rest of us started tending to the wounded without any equipment on us.
Once you enter into this restaurant where the shooting happened, can you tell us, you've got a lot of victims, can you walk us through how you start to handle that many victims at once?
We start triaging them from the get-go, and if we have walking wounded, we like to get them up and out of the scene as quickly as possible. Then we start assessing them between the ones that were deceased and then the ones that we had to call a trauma alert on that weren't able to self-evacuate. And so then we stood by with them until the rescues arrived on scene.
Captain, for our live viewers, I know this is very raw, but can you begin to describe what it was like inside the mall when you started seeing the victims?
At that point, it's almost like when we go into a structure fire. You do what you have to do and you block out all of the interference. It's we are pretty seasoned guys and we've seen a lot of things. And so we just go into that mode just like we're going into a structure fire or a shooting. You don't think about it, you just do what you can to help.
And also, Captain, unfortunately in Florida especially, in the past couple of years, we've seen the Pulse nightclub, we've seen the Parkland shooting, and now a mass shooting in Jacksonville. I know you said you trained for situations like this, but have you ever seen anything like this with your own eyes?
No, sir, not this situation. But honestly, we knew that it was going to come at some point.
Did Mr. Roberts want to say anything? The gentleman behind you, I know that he was one who transported. Did you want to say anything, Mr. Roberts? Not at this time. Was he a driver, or what was his role in this?
The officer in charge of Rescue 1, and so the initial patient that came out that was wounded in the chest, he as soon as Rescue 1 got on scene, we loaded them into Rescue 1 and got them on their way to UF Health.
Would you mind talking just a little bit about, were you talking to this person as they were transported?
Did he say anything?
Yes, the patient, like I said, the guys on scene did a great job preparing the patient for me. I arrived on scene, I was able to get the patient loaded into the rescue and expedite transport to the hospital, keep him very stable, and they made it my part easy. They did all the good work for me, groundwork, laid down a good foundation for me, and I just maintained it all the way to the hospital to get the patient there stable.
Were you able to, I would imagine, early moments of this shooting, and there's a lot of confusion. Was he telling you any clues about what had happened inside?
Not really. Like I said, he was just, everybody was just concerned about what we had going on. Like I said, once you get there and you're in action, you focus in on what you're doing, one thing at a time, and that's all you can do to keep from stumbling over yourself and stumbling over each other. So, like I said, your training kicks in and you just go through the process.
Now, Mr. Roberts,
There's some interesting takeaways from this. Two things come to mind. Number one, they are trained to act and not react. So that's where that training comes in. And number two, you were talking about them responding to one of the first casualties that they did. They were talking about the fact that there were some people who had been there and actually helped, the technical word is triage, but helped prepare them for the medics to come in and get them over to the hospital. And that probably went a long way in saving lives.
Well, absolutely, because I think that, anybody who sees a situation like that unfold, there's the shock, and then there's what can I do to help? I think it's instinctive in most of us to do that, and thankfully there were people there who were able to help JFRD. Now, of course, we know that 9 others were wounded by gunfire. One of them is a man who goes by the name Larry Legend. His mother tweeted this picture showing Governor Scott and Mayor Curry kind of giving that thumbs up as they visited him in the hospital.
She also posted a picture of Larry and some friends saying God was with these guys today. News4JAX reporter Jennifer Reddy joins us live from outside the landing. Jennifer, other witnesses are now talking about what is nothing short of a terrifying ordeal.
That's absolutely right. And this as investigators this morning continue to collect evidence here this morning. There is still caution tape up here at the landing. A lot of patrol cars still here on the scene. Just in the last hour or so, we did also see them put up additional caution tape here in this area of the landing. This as we continue to hear from witnesses as they recall the terrifying moments leading up to the shooting. This is video of the scene Sunday afternoon outside the Landing, where 3 people, including the gunman, were killed and 11 others injured during the shooting inside a gaming room at Chicago Pizza. 9 of the injured suffered gunshot wounds. Several witnesses tell News4Jax they heard a series of gunshots around 1:30 yesterday afternoon. Some say when they heard the first gunshot, they thought it was a balloon popping. We spoke with 2 men who were just getting ready to walk into the gaming competition here at the Landing when they heard gunshots and the chaos that followed.
Just walking in and I went live and a man just came out of nowhere. They're talking about they shooting, but my head, I just went towards that way and see what was going on. And then I just seen people just running out of there, screaming, pushing each other and everything. It was just crazy.
Kids, babies in their families, people just eating and people's gaming. On Twitter, you can see the video where 2 people was playing the Madden game, and out of nowhere, they just getting shot and saying, like, what he shooting me with, what's going on, why they getting shot and why they dying.
Several witnesses tell us immediately when they heard the gunshots, they rushed to help anybody in need and get them to safety. Jennifer Reddy, Channel 4, the local station.
Jennifer, thank you. Meantime, we're learning more about the 24-year-old gunman David Katz. In the gaming community, the competitive gaming world, he was known as Bread.
This is a picture of him after he won the Madden 17 Bills championship. He's the one on the right holding the jersey. And listen now to how the announcers described him during yesterday's tournament.
You are not going to see much emotion from our guy, Brett. This dude is a man, David Katz, keeps to himself. He's a man of business. He's not here for the experience and to go out, this, that, and the third. He's not here to make friends. He's all business. He's focused, and to even get him to open up to talk to you about anything, it's like pulling teeth, man.
So Katz was from Baltimore, Maryland. Police believe he stayed in Jacksonville overnight. This is video of FBI and ATF agents searching his family's home up in Baltimore yesterday. Jacksonville police towed away the gunman's car late last night. It had been parked in a parking garage near the Landing. And this is video from earlier in the day showing that JSO robot we've seen before on scenes being sent into the garage to investigate that car to make sure that there wasn't a bomb or something inside. News4Jax reporter Vic Micolucci is at the airport right now. He is on his way to Baltimore. We're going to check in with him just a little later in the show. This shooting, of course, raising concerns about security at other video game competitions. The tournament director for the Evolution Championship Series, which had organized the tournament at the Landing yesterday, tweeted this: while Evo does not comment on security procedure for obvious reasons, it is very clear that we need to be more proactive for 2019 and beyond. The organization holds its biggest event in Las Vegas every year. In March, organizers called the FBI when someone wrote a shooting threat online. A number of undercover officers attended that event out in Las Vegas for security reasons, but there were no problems. Now, the Madden Classic Championship event is scheduled for October, again in Las Vegas. That event and other future EVO events we're hearing will now have metal detectors. Bruce?
So this was the first violent incident at the Jacksonville Landing in the past 20 months. Did some checking in News4Jax records, but the area has been the site of several other deadly crimes. Most recently in January of 2017, 16-year-old Kamoy Peterson was killed and a 13-year-old was hurt in a shooting. 18-year-old Tyreek Solomon pleaded guilty to carrying a concealed weapon without a permit, but the state attorney's office ruled that shooting was self-defense. Let's move to 2012. 42-year-old William Petrie was killed by this man, 27-year-old Matthew Hinson. Hinson had seen his wife talking to Petrie and cut his throat. He was sentenced to life in prison. And just 2 months earlier, before a brawl at the Landing led to the death of 24-year-old Taylor Evans, Evans climbed onto the hood of a pickup truck and was run over. Jen?
So the Landing mass shooting also comes just 2 days after one person was killed and 2 others injured as fans left the Rains-Lee football game on Friday night. This morning, there is extra security in place at Rains, Lee, and Ribault high schools as students return to class. News4Jax reporter Crystal Moyer is joining us live outside Rains in Northwest Jacksonville. Crystal, I know you spoke to the chair of the school board, and they plan to meet today, right?
That's right, Jen. They're having an executive meeting today, and they're actually going to brief us in the public around 4 p.m. about some of the things that they discussed in that meeting regarding safety surrounding school events. So if you take a look live behind me, we are at Rains High School. There is a line. Dozens of parents and students are waiting to be dropped off at school right now. I saw some of those students were hugging each other, hugging some of the staff here. Not sure if that's the principal down there trying to direct some of those parents, but you can just see it's a very somber day for some of these students that may have known some of those students or kids involved in that shooting, and that 19-year-old that got killed as well outside of that football stadium. So I talked to Chair Paula Wright. She tells me, they just plan to discuss some of the protocol surrounding safety in school functions. Again, they'll have a news conference later on, but she describes the violence as a community issue.
This tragedy, in terms of the shooting and loss of life and injuries, occurred after the game, and which is why we keep saying it is a community issue. And I think, unfortunately, the tragedy at the landing yesterday just reiterated this is a community issue. So now it's time, as community leaders, we all come together with students, with parents, with the faith-based community, and create a process and a plan where everybody feels that they have an opportunity to participate.
So again, Wright says she's going to brief the public on some parts of the school board discussion, but not everything because of safety reasons. Increased security will be at Rains, Lee, and Ribault High, as well as some grief counselors. And you can see a lot of those students here at Rains High. They're kind of gathering outside of the school. I'm not sure if they're going to have some type of memorial. We will sit here and check things out and see what's going on. But if you know anything about that shooting, they're asking you to call police or Crime Stoppers at 866-845-TIPS. There's also a response from some of those students that attend Rains High School, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and show you that video coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. Reporting live, Crystal Moyer, Channel 4, the local station.
So we will no doubt continue this discussion throughout the course of the morning and the course of the day on the steps being taken to keep, you and me safe here in our city.
At 7:20, Michael Lyles, the head of the Justice Coalition, will join us here in the studio to discuss how we heal as a community after such a violent weekend, and also the resources that are in place to help families of violent crime victims. And then at 7:40, one of the survivors of the Landing mass shooting, Javari Long, joins us.
He was eating at the Landing when he heard those shots ring out. Then at 7:50, forensic psychologist Dr. Stephen Bloomfield into the mind of a gamer and how gaming can become a deadly addiction. Our coverage also continues on news4jax.com.
You can read how the gaming community has really rallied together since the mass shooting. We've compiled a list of first-hand accounts from people who were tweeting during the shooting rampage. You'll find that story on the homepage of news4jax.com.
Now here's today's forecast to plan your day, driven by Keith Pearson Toyota.
A little light shower continues right over the River City, especially the South Bank. I stepped out just a moment ago, just put my eyeballs on it as we were watching this just leaving. So the leftovers, what we see here to the south. Brentwood over toward Commonwealth Avenue, West Jacks out near Grunthal Street, and Myrtle. And West 26, they're about to have to hit the wipers if these are the routes anywhere between 95, 23, all the highways and byways there in between. And then over to the coastal zones, Coral Ridge Baptist Church Seminary, we'll see this as it continues moving onshore from the beaches, more specifically around Pablo Keys. There's San Pablo Road, Commissioner's Drive to the south here, and as we lift to the north, it's just beginning to exit areas around Rosewood and the Neptune Beach area. You've got the light showers right now, and there are more to go. As you lift to the north, Manhattan Beach, Oak Harbor in between right now. You got a little break in the action there between Mayport, but you see what's lurking offshore, and as we put this on, put it into motion, you can see where we're going to see these move off of the Atlantic into our inland areas across the beaches. But note how the 95 corridor, for the most part, is about the break point here as they tend to wind down beyond that 95 corridor. Later today, it won't be the story as that sea breeze front becomes more active and pushes inland. Around 2 miles is here between Waycross to Brunswick. Valdosta slips to under a mile. And elsewhere where we had fog and visibility issues there between Arlington and Baldwin, back to 10 miles. And it looks good here at Doctors Lake Marina. Currently dry conditions as you get ready and flat water out there, 79 degrees. Calm conditions at 90% humidity is going to feel closer to about 81, 82 degrees this morning. Partly cloudy with more showers, and we'll ramp up the chance for some isolated storms into the afternoon forecast where Being that the wind is onshore, these will be onshore as well. They're moving inland, I should say. For the kids this morning, coastal zones getting on the bus. You have the potential for showers up to about the 95 corridor. And then later today, a lot of that energy is going to shift inland. So from the spotty stuff that we see this morning, continuing on the spotty hit and miss variety here as those showers and storms continue to move inland. Our temperatures right now, 70s area-wide, from the lower 70s at Brunswick to Homerville, mid to upper 70s as we take you out to those Golden Isles. In our forecast here for today, under the chance for showers, remember 7 o'clock is the update time, so right now we're getting a fresh batch. It should at least give us the depiction of some of the showers that we've been tracking so far this morning, and then this afternoon, not just the showers, but what could be the embedded and isolated thunderstorms. I think the depiction here looks fantastic for today, even in the numeric model where we have plenty of voids here. It misses the beaches, which we're currently seeing, but the numbers look right. And then tomorrow with a slightly better chance, and this one tends to peg Jacksonville, but that's where we could see locally heavy downpours as they come through. Our 70s moving into a daytime high near seasonal here in the upper 80s, and we'll do that under partly cloudy to at times partly sunny skies. Our daytime highs upper 80s. That 30% chance starts at 2 o'clock and will continue through about 6 o'clock tonight. We'll move it back to a 50-50 shot for Tuesday and continue at a 30 to 40% chance. The remainder of the 7-day, including when the shrimp come back at home starting Thirsty Thursday. Kiss FM Jacksonville, that's 97.9. Keep up with your Weather Authority forecast while you're on the go. Crystal, how are the roadways?
Now, here's Safe Touch Security Time Saver Traffic.
Hey, good morning. So along with our typical hotspots, you've also got a lot of questions right now about heading downtown and what streets are actually still closed. So heading downtown, all our bridges are back open, but it's along Hogan Street down south of Water Street. That road still remains blocked. It's just a portion of the street of Hogan, again, south of Water Street, just between the landing and the Times Union Performing Arts Center. That's still blocked off right now. Again, if you don't need to be in the area, try and avoid it if you can. Also headed up 95 just a little past Butler Boulevard. Also did have an accident off in that right shoulder, so it is causing some major delays heading downtown on 95 northbound. Also seeing bumper-to-bumper delays on I-10 eastbound. That's it. Look at your Safe Touch Security Time Saver Traffic.
A deadly mass shooting 2 days after a former student was killed at the Rains-Lee High School football game.
The director of the Jacksonville Justice Coalition joins us. He knows firsthand what it is like to lose a loved one to violence. How does our community heal? Next.
3 killed, including the gunman who turned the gun on himself after a mass shooting at a video game tournament at the Landing. It happened just 2 days after a deadly shooting immediately after the Rains-Lee High School football game Friday night. Let's talk about the violence that has this community in its grips. Let's talk about coming together. Michael Lyles is the executive director of the Justice Coalition. He knows firsthand about violence and the toll it takes because he lost his wife to gun violence. Mr. Lyles, thank you for being here.
I'm glad to be here to speak to the issues that are important to our city.
And let's talk about what that issue right now, because it's one of beginning to heal. You lost your wife. How do you forgive? How do you cope? How do you start the process of healing?
The process begins and ends with recognizing that there is a value to life. There is a sanctity to life. That's what we would talk about in church. But of course, since we're not in church, we should at least be talking about the value of life. And what we saw yesterday was a man who valued even his own life so little that he would do what he did in our community.
Now, there are two issues here. There's the issue of guns and their availability, and that's something that can be legislated. And I don't want to get into that debate because it's very contentious. But the reality is what you just brought up. There is a general lack of respect for life. How do you change what is becoming a culture?
We at least have to address the issue of what we see as different from sanctity of life to value of life. In church, we understand that sanctity means we are God-breathed, God-made. He ultimately makes us marvelously and wondrously made. In the absence of faith, we've got to establish what it is that gives us our values. Is it our friends? Is it our family? Is it our future? And our future friends and family. At least we can start focusing on those issues, because make no mistake, even though there were only 2 killed other than the man who took the other lives, the ramifications of what happened to those two people affects parents, grandparents, other family members, community, neighbors. We're going to be hearing from these people, and we need to be learning from the sense of loss that they have.
Do we also need to bring about a sense of family? Because it seems so lost on many.
It does, and sadly, when you sit in courtrooms, as I do with other victims, and you look at the defendants who are sitting there, sometimes the only time their family shows up is at sentencing or at all. These families are breaking apart. I've heard them in family courts where mothers are standing there alone raising multiple children from multiple men, and they're ultimately saying the reason he's not going to school is because I can't wake him up. That was never a problem in the Lyles house as long as we had a couple of pans to wake folks up. But at the same time, you have to come back together as a family.
Parents have to take that responsibility.
Yes, they do.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll be right back.
The morning show starts right now with a breaking news alert.
A gunman kills two competitive gamers, then takes his own life. This morning, police are trying to figure out why. We know these two men, 27-year-old Taylor Robertson and 22-year-old Eli Clayton, were killed.
12 others were injured, at least 9 suffering bullet wounds.
I was just walking in and I went live, and a man just came out of nowhere. They're talking about they shooting, but my head, I just went towards that way and see what was going on. And then I just seen people just running out of there, screaming, pushing each other and everything. It was just crazy. It was crazy.
And we know who that gunman is, identified as 24-year-old David Katz, a competitive gamer from Baltimore. Court documents show Katz's parents' divorce indicate he had, quote, significant medical problems and health care needs.
Police continue to investigate around the Jacksonville Landing right now. Most roads downtown are back open. The businesses, though, inside the landing are still closed.
News4JAX reporter Jennifer Reddy joins us live outside the landing this morning. It may be closed for some time because it's still an active crime scene.
Good morning. It is still a very active crime scene here. You can see there is still caution tape up here around the landing this morning. Several patrol cars here still on the scene. Investigators here continuing to collect evidence. We have seen them in the past hour or so put up additional crime scene tape here by the landing. Part of the landing is not blocked off by crime scene tape, but there are patrol cars that are surrounding the entire landing, making sure that this scene does remain secure. As you guys mentioned, the roads, a lot of them are back open this morning, with the exception of Hogan Street, south of Water Street, which is the intersection that you're looking at right now in front of the gazebo down there, which is a very popular spot for people to come. That will probably remain closed for several hours until authorities wrap up their investigation. As you can imagine, a lot of people here left in chaos yesterday, so they have a lot to go through here inside the landing as they continue their investigation. We will continue to keep you updated throughout the morning. Jennifer Reddy, Channel 4, the local station.
And right now on News4JAX.com, you'll find new details that we've learned about the victims of yesterday's mass shooting. You can also read the stories of survival.
That's right. The gamers are now sharing with our reporters. Again, go to News4JAX.com right there on the homepage.
To get the most accurate, reliable forecast, our 5 powerful radar sweeps give you 5 times more coverage. Channel 4 is the weather authority.
Not as numerous as what we woke up to. We're starting to see some breaks here with the showers that continue, but we're tracking some right now, and it's the same areas that we've been talking about. I'll let this loop one more time. That's what we were tracking over the downtown area. That's dissipating, so we'll ignore that and turn our attention back over toward the beaches here, Atlantic Beach. Left over in the light stuff near Jack's Beach, and you can see it extends all the way along Beechwood here, so this is going to take us almost back into, especially to the south, almost over to the town center and around, say, Topgolf. The heaviest stuff continues beachside and its destination. Beacon Hill's about a 7-minute window, and then you've got Dames Point crossing over the bridge there and possibly staying together all the way to Newcastle. Amelia City, Buccaneers Trail here. We're out toward the Isles where we're watching just that leftover intermittent downpour. This is weakening as we speak. I'll put this into motion. You see it comes in with some color and just that fast moves over the aisles there and starts to weaken. Now, we do have plenty that's left over offshore. We'll continue to watch that and track it as it gets a little bit closer. This is winding down. We'll ignore it and move to the south where Flagler Beach. We're back into some of those showers just lifting out of Volusia. Those will continue to the north around Beverly Beach and out near Bonterra and eventually getting into the Alphabet neighborhoods around Palm Coast. Our temperatures at 89 degrees come up a degree shy for this time of year, and at 74 where we bottomed out. Sure, it's a little bit warm by 2 degrees, but our temperatures coming back closer to check with seasonal trends. We're tracking the showers and storms as part of your Monday forecast. We'll have more coming up in 10 minutes. Let's check with Crystal in that Time Saver traffic.
Now, here's Safe Touch Security Time Saver traffic.
Getting you out the door this morning in Orange Park. We are following an accident that should be in its clearing stages. This is Blanding Boulevard, southbound, headed down toward Edson Drive. Watch out for that crash. Also heading down the Buckman Bridge, seeing some heavy delays right now. If you're headed southbound, that's about an 8-minute ride to go from Blanding on over to Mandarin. And then traveling downtown, travel times are heavy on I-10 eastbound. That's about a 25-minute ride going from 295 into downtown. That's your Safe Touch Security Time Saver traffic.
Thank you, Crystal. Mass shooting motive. Investigators still have questions about why a 24-year-old gamer opened fire inside the Jacksonville landing.
2 people dead, 11 injured. Then that gunman turned the gun on himself. We're going to be talking with a forensic psychologist about the new information about David Katz. Into the mind of somebody just like him. Next. There are questions about the shooter, David Katz. While we can't talk specifically about his state of mind because there's so much yet to be learned, we can get into the mind of a mass shooter. Joining me right now, forensic psychologist Dr. Stephen Bloomfield. Dr. Stephen, good to have you here.
Morning.
Take me into the mind of somebody who fits his profile.
Well, we don't exactly know what his profile is. We know that he was a gamer. They say he was a loner. They say there's some evidence of physical or mental health problems. We don't know exactly, so we're gonna try and do people will be doing a psychological autopsy, looking at everything about him in the next few days to try and figure out. We do know some things. We know that people are starting to think about excessive gaming as a compulsive problem or even an addiction. There's some debate about that, but we know it's problematic for some people.
Hasn't the WHO, the World Health Organization, come out and said, no, it's a real addiction?
Yes, they have, along with others that used to be called compulsive behaviors. So it's not a chemical addiction, it's not a substance addiction, but it has the same effect. And so that could be a problem. And you know, so we get into this issue of when is something an addiction? And clearly, when something's an addiction, I don't want to be trite, but it's only a problem when it's a problem. So if it's impairing someone in one of the domains of life that we think is important, social, interactional, school, work, vocational, then it becomes a problem. If someone just spends a lot of time gaming or playing bridge or, you know, playing golf or playing poker or whatever, and it's an interest, but they can stop at any point, they can stop and interact because we value...
They have control.
They have control of it, yeah.
That's the big issue. I want to listen. This was a commentator at one of the gaming competitions 2 years ago, and this is how they described David Katz.
You are not going to see much emotion from our guy, Brett. This dude is a man David Katz keeps to himself. He's a man of business. He's not here for the experience and to go out, this, that, and the third. He's not here to make friends. He's all business. He's focused. And to even get him to open up to talk to you about anything, it's like pulling teeth, man.
Okay, so there are some people who are focused.
Yes.
There are some people who are loners and not very communicative.
Yes.
When do you say, you know what, I think we got a problem here? What are some specific signs?
Well, the signs are when people can't stop, when they can't get away from the activity for any other reason. We divide our life into domains. We call them domains. Social, interactional, vocational, school. So, you know, we encourage, on the one hand, there's a lot of books that say in order to learn something, you have to spend 10,000 hours at it. Well, you can only spend 10,000 hours at something if you're going to spend that much time doing it. So it's only what parents need to know about gaming is, first of all, there's a big difference between violent gaming and Madden gaming. So there's that issue. But the real issue for parents is taking away from other things. Is the young person who's gaming, are they not doing school? Are they not interacting? Do they not have friends? Can they stop doing it for a vacation? Can they stop for a week? We used to, in substance abuse work, when the only addictions we had was substance abuse, people would come into our offices, especially in marital therapy, and somebody would say, well, he has a drinking problem, and a guy would say, no, I don't. And I would say, well, then stop drinking for a week, let's see. And he said, well, I can't stop drinking for a week. And I said, well, then it must be a problem.
So that gets back to the issue of control. So, I don't mean to be cliche or even trite, but when you talk about diets, you talk to a dietitian, say, eat what you want. Everything in moderation is okay. Right. So in life, everything in moderation is okay.
That's our belief system. We believe that's true, and we believe that. On the other hand, however, on the other hand, we also value people devoting their time, working enormous amount of hours, spending an incredible amount of time learning a skill. So there has to be a balance of when it's an impairment and when it's not, when it's just an activity that people are doing and liking. And the way to determine if it's impairment is taking away from the other things that we value. And when that happens, you have to start looking at some kind of intervention.
All right, let's talk about those interventions. What's a mom and dad to do when they sit back and they recognize, okay, we got a potential problem here?
Right. Well, the first thing, obviously, is they have to talk to the child. And they have to not be afraid to talk to the child. I've been reading on Facebook and the internet that people's kids have become so emotionally attached to their game things that when they lose, they throw them against the wall and break a couple of $100 thing, and parents are afraid to talk to them because of the rage. So at some point you need a professional. You need to say to the child, just like we did with substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, we're going to take you to see somebody because it's imperative. And so then parents have to intervene in their kids. These are kids. They can't just leave them alone and be happy that they're sitting in their room and not interacting with anybody. So the sign is, if you see major changes in a child's life, that they used to be interactive, they used to go to school, they would have a bunch of friends, and now they're sitting by themselves all the time, well, that's a big change. So anytime there's a big change like that, you want to start talking to the child and seeing what's going on.
Do we even start warding off the problem before it gets to be a problem by having a healthy communication, a dialogue with our kids? Parents ask yes and no questions. Have a dialogue with your
absolutely. That's the key to everything, is that we need to be talking to children and our children, other children.
Your kids.
Know them and let them express, no, Mom, I really like this game. I'm not addicted to it. I can stop. Let's go.
So you understand them.
Yes.
Dr. Bloomfield, thank you very much. Some good advice. And I think it's time to check on the weather. Already had some rain this morning.
Now here's today's forecast to plan your day. Driven by Keith Pearson Toyota.
We have seen our fair share so far of some downpours coming through, as isolated as they may be. Right now, more shower than rainfall, as they're kind of area rugs just over top of Mayport, stretching as far south as around Atlantic Beach with the heavy stuff. Beacon Hill, Shady Resch, and out near New Berlin Elementary School. That's giving you about a 20-minute window. And as we expand the view here from the beaches, we got to head back down south, and it's the next round of what will be some of the heavier stuff. This continues to lift from Flagler Beach, moving just to the northwest. So we'll put a little bit of a tilt on it. She'll also take it over top of the Imagine School there at the town center. Then you got Daytona State College continuing to lift into Palm Coast. That's going to take you up around the Bonterra area, Palm Coast, the expressway there that takes you back to the beaches, the Parkway, and even out near let's see, the high school, Matanzas High School, as you get off on one of the newer exits that's there now along 95. 10 miles viz continues, St. Augustine and Jacksonville, and it's the two holdouts as we've seen visibility for everybody slipping at least a little to a lot, like at Valdosta down to under 2 miles. 10s continue inside of the Beltway, the beaches. Ponte Vedra gets a little hazy as you lift to the north, but it looks great here. Clay County, Doctors Lake Marina, that's going to feel closer to the lower 80s, calm conditions, and yeah, it's pretty sticky with humidity, still holding steady at 90%. Partly cloudy, in between partly cloudy and partly sunny, so at times there will be more clouds than sun, vice versa. We've got the showers along with the isolated downpours. That's right now, and will even continue as we get into late tonight and overnight tonight, where we'll see the volume moving into our inland areas later today. John and Rebecca will track that stuff coming up starting at 4 o'clock, but back to the beaches as the wind in our inland areas subsides a little. we'll still have that little interaction with our coastal zones keeping us under that threat of showers. So if we were to look at it as a 24-hour clock, the peak of the afternoon through about early evening inside of our inland areas, but starting right now and continuing and then back into our forecast overnight takes us into the beaches. So as I put this into play, the few spotty little showers and some of the downpours that are already erupting, and all of this tied into, and look how rain-free it is to the north. So we've got high pressure here to the north of us. We're under the cycle on the southern end of it, and that's going to keep us under that chance for some showers. The next time we chat, we'll have a full update coming in as we're getting all the new models or all the new updates. I think this looks fantastic. There's the needles showing up over top of the River City. It's the onshore flow that will continue to usher them inland from the sandy shores into the well inland pockets, anywhere from Highway 301, US 1 north here through southeast Georgia. Note that it keeps us quiet here for Monday, but it's not the same on Tuesday. Tuesday it wants to really hammer down in and around Jacksonville with almost 2 inches of rainfall. It's just the model's way of saying, hey, locally heavy downpours will be possible here for today. 89 degrees under what will be the variable cloud cover, partly cloudy to partly sunny, scattered showers, isolated and embedded thunderstorms. The tune about 30% locally. Inland areas will see a 40% chance, upping the ante there for Tuesday, 50-50 shot, and then it's that 30 to a 40% chance that will take us through the midweek and into the weekend as the shrimp come back home. Planet Radio, Jacksonville's Rural Rock, that's 97.3. Keep up with your Weather Authority forecast while you're on the go. We'll have more coming up in the 8 o'clock hour after the break.
Working to learn more about the 24-year-old gunman who took his own life after killing 2 gamers at the Jacksonville Landing.
David Katz was known as Bread in the competitive gaming world. This is a picture of him after he won the Madden 17 Bills championship. He's the one on the right holding the jersey there. Katz was from Baltimore, Maryland. Police believe he stayed in Jacksonville overnight. This is video of the FBI and ATF searching his family home in the Federal Hills section of Baltimore. It's just across the street, or just across the river, I should say, from the Inner Harbor, an historic area. The family had a condo there.
Yeah, and this was a video from yesterday afternoon. Jacksonville police towed away the gunman's car late last night. It had been parked in a parking garage near the landing. And this is video from earlier in the day showing a JSO robot being sent into that garage to investigate the car, just to make sure there were no explosives inside. Right now, News for Jax reporter Vic Michelucci is at the airport. Vic, in about 20 minutes, you'll fly to Baltimore, where that gunman is from.
Good morning. I'm at Jacksonville International Airport, about to board a flight to Baltimore, Maryland, to gain more details about the 24-year-old suspected shooter, David Katz. He does live in Baltimore, Maryland. I found an address linked to his father. We're going to be visiting that address, trying to talk with his family members, his friends, his colleagues, his neighbors, anybody that knows him, to get a glimpse about what happened, who this man was, and why he would commit such a heinous crime. We are also going to be working to get court records from the Baltimore area to look at his history, both criminally as well as mental health, because we have found that there are potential mental health issues in the past there. We have looked at videos of him competing in the past. Want to show you this one. It shows him competing in a different Madden tournament, and listen to how the commentators describe him.
You are not going to see much emotion from our guy, Brett. This dude is a man David Katz keeps to himself. He's a man of business. He's not here for the experience and to go out, this, that, and the third. He's not here to make friends. He's all business. He's focused, and to even get him to open up to talk to you about anything, it's like pulling teeth, man.
And Jacksonville Sheriff Mike Williams tells me that he does believe Katz acted alone, does not think that anybody else was involved in this crime, but they are going to leave no stone unturned. The FBI, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, working very closely with their counterparts with the FBI in Baltimore, as well as ATF and local authorities there, to find out exactly what happened here. Vic Michelucci, Channel 4, the local station.
Vic, thank you. I just want to point something out and make a clarification. Police have identified the 24-year-old as David Katz. We've also talked about the victims throughout the course of the morning. There's been no official confirmation from JSO, the FBI, or any of the other investigators as to their identities. Those identities have come to us by the way of those in the competitive gaming community. So this shooting comes just 2 days before the Florida primary elections.
A number of gubernatorial candidates are tweeting about the shooting, with polls, of course, set to open tomorrow around the state. Now, both GOP candidates Adam Putnam and Ron DeSantis canceled events scheduled for today here in Jacksonville.
In fact, DeSantis sent out this tweet: thanks for the first responders from @JSOPIO for heading into a terrible situation at the Jacksonville landing. Thanks also to @Florida Governor Scott for providing state resources.
Putnam posted, our prayers continue to be with the victims and their families. Please cooperate with local law enforcement and do not hesitate to be helpful in your community any way that you can. 3 Democrats running for governor will still hold their events, though, today in Jacksonville.
That's as far as we know. Gwen Graham, Philip Levine, Jeff Green set to be in the River City. No notice from their campaigns as to how they're going to address yesterday's shooting. Now, yesterday, Graham did tweet, I am tired of hearing when is enough going to be enough. I'm tired of hearing thoughts and prayers from those who do nothing. We need to end these mass shootings, and the only way to do that is to vote out the politicians complicit in this cycle of death.
Levine wrote, Twitter doesn't allow me to voice my feelings fully on this tragedy. I am horrified and I am furious. The shootings are too many to count in our schools, neighborhoods, and nightclubs. Too many lives are destroyed while leaders take no action. It's time for new leaders. Tomorrow, this mass shooting will likely be a major topic during our election coverage.
I invite you to join us at 8 o'clock for the News4JAX Florida Primary Special. You'll find a complete voter's guide. Learn about the candidates on news4jax.com/voters-guide. News4JAX, the morning show. We'll be right back.